Hi, this is Stan Bush.
Hi, this is Stephanie Calvert.
This is John Payne.
This is Jack Hughes.
Hi, I'm Carrie Stevens.
Hey everybody, this is Prescott Niles.
Hello, I'm Kofi Baker.
This is Tony Franklin here.
This is Britt Lightning from Vixen,
and you're listening to Play That Rock and Roll.
Keep rocking with Joe.
This is not a test. This is Play That Rock and Roll. I'm your host, Joe K, and today our guest is Mark Larsen, the founder, drummer, and band leader for Fallin, the Tom Petty concert experience. This band is a live tribute to and celebration of Tom Petty's incredible music and legacy. Tom sadly passed away in 2017, and fans have missed him dearly ever since, in part because his annual tours were consistently always among the best shows of the year. Fans were never disappointed by a Heartbreakers show, so his passing, unfortunately, has left quite a void. And this is something we've talked about on the channel before. How do we, as classic rock fans, engage in a live setting with the music from artists we love who are no longer with us, or retired, or simply on a hiatus? Well, a theater might show a concert film, or maybe you could go see one of those weird hologram shows. But honestly, neither one of those really delivers on a concert experience. In my opinion, the best way to enjoy live music is to see live music, especially from seasoned pros who know what they're doing. And that's what this band is all about. They've been doing this show for some 17 years now, so they know how to bring a Tom Petty concert experience to the stage. So, if you're like me and you really miss seeing the Heartbreakers in concert, I would really recommend you check out Mark's band, Fallin. In this interview, we talk about how Mark formed the band, why they decided to celebrate Tom Petty, Mark's favorite selections from Petty's catalog, their appearance at the 2018 Tom Petty Birthday Bash concert, as well as some other great gig memories, and also what makes their Tom Petty concert experience just so special. This band is a celebration of a classic rock icon who is no longer with us. So I think this is a project that classic rock fans should definitely check out, and you should go see him in concert. Fallin's next concert will be at the South Milwaukee Performing Arts Center this Thursday, September 21st. If you are in the Milwaukee area, you should absolutely go see them. And if you're not in the Milwaukee area, they have other concert dates listed on their website now. Also, Mark told me that dates for 2024 will be posted to the website shortly. And that website is freefallin.us. You can also find this band on social media: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Links posted in the description below. And with that, here's my conversation with Mark Larsen, the band leader of Fallin, the Tom Petty concert experience.
Don't come around here no more.
So thank you for coming by. You have a show coming up in South Milwaukee on Thursday, and we are going to talk about that. But before we dive in, you are the band leader and drummer for Fallin, the Tom Petty concert experience. And I've been following your Facebook page, and you were just in Gainesville, Florida at the Tom Petty Museum. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Well, I'll tell you what, they set up a little addendum to the Cade Museum down there. And I don't know if you know who that is, but Cade was the guy that invented Gatorade.
Oh.
a little fact. Gatorade was done, and it's called Gatorade because he did it for the college football team.
Oh, right, yeah.
Gators, down in Gainesville, Florida. So anyway, they got a museum for him down there, and they set up a wing up on the second floor where they put in a Tom Petty display. And it's great. There's some just really, really nice stuff there. I've been posting stuff on Facebook, like you mentioned. So it's something to keep an eye on because I'll be posting pictures every day from that. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I like that you guys utilize social media as an extension of, what you do in celebration of Tom. But let's go back in time here a little bit. Tell me about the genesis of this project. How did you guys come together, and when was that?
Well, this band started in 2007. I was playing. I've been a musician all my life. I've been through a couple of careers, and I had restaurants for a while, and I was a food broker for a while and stuff. But I kind of kept my hands in the music. I played part-time in bar bands, cover bands, that kind of thing. And I was in a cover band with a group of guys, and our bass player looked a little bit like Tom Petty. And then somebody came up to him one night and said, "God, you guys should be doing some Tom Petty songs." And one thing led to the next night. I said, "Gosh, you want to put together a tribute show?" And so we agreed to do that. We dug in, and we were, both really, really loved Tom Petty's story and music and all that stuff. So it worked out pretty well. That was 2007 when we started. About this time of the year in 2007, we played our first couple of shows, and we cobbled together a 6-piece band and went out and we started doing some bar shows and put together a good, solid show. A song list that worked. And, it's one of those things when you're dealing with a guy like Petty, he's got 400 and some songs. What do you play? And so anyway, we put together a show that kind of keeps the fans happy. It's stuff we enjoy playing. And it's just worked out. And we've been doing it ever since. We're coming up on 17 years.
Wow, that's awesome. Congratulations. I mean, that's a hell of a run. And it doesn't sound like you guys are going to be slowing down anytime soon, which is good news. Playing South Milwaukee this Thursday. So anyone who's in the Milwaukee area, I hope checks that out. I'll be at that show for sure. So let's go back maybe even further about your fandom and your appreciation for Tom. You're a musician yourself. What is it about Tom's music that appeals to you in a way more than others, in so much as that his music is what you choose to play?
Well, Tom's writing style and playing style is very unique. And he's not like anybody else. He's not like the Beatles. He's not like the Byrds. He's not like AC/DC. Tom Petty is Tom Petty. And the band that he put together was there for him and Mike Campbell and Benmont were the three driving influences. Of course, the bass player is Ron Baer, and you've got a local guy, Howie Epstein, is from Milwaukee.
That's right.
And his brother Bradley, I'm hoping BJ is going to come to the show as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a word out for him. He's not been feeling well lately, but I'm really kind of hoping that BJ comes as well. But when a new Petty song comes on the radio back 30 years ago, you knew it was Tom Petty. And his great art is something, I talk about this all the time. You read a book, I don't know if you read, but if you read, I read, and if I read a book today, I might pick that book up again in 6 years and reread it. And that book may tell me a different story the next time I read it. Okay. And that is the sign of true art. And you go look at a Picasso, you go look at any kind of a painting or sculpture, you go back years later and look at it again, it's going to look a little different than it did the first time. It's all based on your current reality. And Tom's music does that. And his lyrics and his songwriting is such that you get to the end of it and you go, oh my God, yeah, he's talking about this or he's talking about that. Well, 5 years from now, that may be different.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's the songwriting and his style is really what spoke to me.
That is terrific. Yeah, he's truly one of the best ever. and he has such a massive catalog. It's not
Right.
just he had a long career and he was prolific. When you look back at the music he released over, the like 40 years he was doing it, are
Yeah.
there albums or eras of Tom's career that to you, as speaking as a fan, mean more than some of what else he's done? What do you consider the highlights of his catalog?
Well, his first album, of course, was groundbreaking, and that's the one that got everybody's attention. I don't know if you remember the stories about that, but the record companies early on tried to pigeonhole Tom, and they couldn't do it. They wanted to make him a punk. They wanted it to be punk music because that was real popular then.
Yep. 76.
And so, unfortunately, that didn't work, and Tom battled that, and he came out as Tom Petty. You listen to interviews with him, and people say, "How do you classify your music?" And he would say, "We're just an old country band."
Oh,
Okay, that's how he described himself in the Heartbreakers. We're just an old country band. Didn't necessarily mean they were playing country music.
right.
Although the crossover from what he was doing to country is not a big jump. When you think about it, it's not. But anyway, so the first album was great. Wildflowers was huge for a lot of people. And my personal favorite, the one that really got me early on, was Full Moon Fever. Yeah, but I mean, every album has got something on it that's amazing.
Yeah.
His most recent original album that he put out before he passed away was Hypnotic Eye. And Hypnotic Eye, in my opinion, is very underrated. I think that album is phenomenal. He got radio play on one of those songs, but I think that album is going to really stand the test of time. I think that album is going to be one that people are going to keep talking about.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was what's one of the things that was so cool about him, is that he doesn't have, and this is rare for artists with big discographies, he doesn't have a bad period. Even in the 80s, when a lot of artists kind of fall off a little bit, I like that run quite a bit. And more recent music, there's The Last DJ that I'm very fond of, and also got radio play. So I think you're right. There's just so many great points to explore.
Yeah. Well, he talks about that at the museum. When you go down to Gainesville and go through that museum, there's a bunch of quotes from Tom, and he actually addresses that. And he talks about how every album was set up and the music was written not to be like the last one.
Oh, yeah.
It was very, very intentional on his part to change it up. And that's kind of why he went solo, because he said in some of his quotes that if I play with the same four guys all the time, that's all you're going to get. And he said, this gave me the opportunity to meet new people and change things up and have a new sound and everything. So I think that kind of addresses what you're speaking to.
No, certainly. Yeah. And that Full Moon Fever solo record, it's always interesting to me that he did that Super Bowl halftime show a number of years ago. And like 3 of the 4 songs were off that album. And you got to think of how special that record must be to him and really the fan community to like pull that much on such a big stage.
I think that was the last. I think that was the last of the good Super Bowl halftime shows.
No, I agree. Yeah. there was a window of some good ones, and then on. Did you ever get a chance to see Tom in concert?
Quite a bit, yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Good. Any particular memories from seeing him like back in the day or later era?
Well, early on, my wife drugged me out to go see him, and at the time I wasn't a big fan. Jackson Browne was his warm-up act, and I was more interested in seeing Jackson Browne. That was back in 1990, I want to say 8 or 99 maybe. And it turned out that, Tom Petty blew the show away. So that's a good memory. I think his last tour, you're wearing the shirt, was, in my opinion, probably the best concert I'd ever been to. Yeah. For sure the best Tom Petty concert.
When I saw him on this tour, I recall that it was a very memorable show because I remember thinking he did a lot of things that, in theory, I could complain about. Like he didn't open his eyes for most of the show, and he skipped a lot of hits. But they weren't actually complaints because every song he did was a song I loved, and even though his eyes were closed, he still had like a really good energy about him, and things that might have been not great for another artist, he made really special. And knowing honestly what he was dealing with, in those last years makes it all the more impressive. But
Well, he had an absolute amazing way of connecting with the people. And the audience, from the minute he walked on stage until he was done, the audience is glued to him.
Yeah.
You know, the guy that I've got in Free Fall, his name is Wade Kirby, is like that. He's
and that's
got
your
the
lead vocalist.
Yeah,
Plays
he's my
the part.
he's the Tom Petty in my band. He reaches out and grabs people, and he's got the ability to get people. He's doing such a good job at that. I'm really happy with what he's got going on.
Well, maybe you can expand upon that a little bit, because my next question for you is about how you design your show and what makes you guys a real special experience. Because I think to myself, years ago, I saw a concert at a free stage at a festival, and it was a group of guys calling themselves a tribute to The Who. Now, they didn't dress the part. They didn't really even try to sound the part. And because it was a free show, I think it was just a group of guys playing Who songs that they like. But that is not at all the approach that you guys take. You guys are obviously invested in presentation and production and bringing the Tom Petty experience to fans in a very memorable way. So tell me about, if it's Wade or others in the band, or, tell me about the production and what makes this concert experience special.
Okay, that's a good question. Basically, I mentioned earlier that we've been doing this for 17 years. I've got 4 of the guys in the band that we've been together for the period of time, 17 years. So my bass player, his name is Russ Lund, phenomenal musician and artist. And Carl Swartz, my lead guitar player, he's an educator. He teaches music, and he's a songwriter and recorder and a studio guy. Russ is a studio guy too. And Dale Peterson, Dale's our keyboard player. He's our Benmont. He's been with us since day one. Now, Dale came to us from a band called Lamont Cranston. I don't know if Lamont means anything to you in Milwaukee, but he had a song back in the 60s called The Upper Mississippi Shakedown.
Oh, I will look that one up.
Yeah, it's a good song. But anyway, Dale spent many years with Lamont before he came on with us. So the 4 of us have been playing together for 17 years. Now, my utility guy, his name is Ted Byrne. We had him 3-4 years ago now. We've had a few guys in that spot before him, but Ted is a magic fit. He's a multi-instrumental guy. He plays mandolin and harmonica and keys and guitar. He's a really good lead guitar player. And he sings like an angel. I mean, he does all of the backup vocals. And then, of course, our Wade, Tom Petty. He's been with us now for, it's been 4 years, maybe 5 years. But it's magic. What we have going right now is magic. It's the best Tom Petty tribute band, I believe, that there is.
Well, that is excellent. Like I said, I'm super excited for Thursday. And you guys have a couple of more dates this year. Are you touring through the end of the year, or is the tour coming to a close?
No, we're actually looking into next year pretty hard. I just got off the phone. I'm booking a 2-week run down to Florida, and we're going back to San Diego again and Phoenix. And we're going to be in Detroit for a New Year's Eve weekend, and I think we're going to be coming back through Illinois on New Year's Eve that Sunday night, and I think we're going to pick up a casino date on the way back. But we're pretty consistently doing 60 to 70 shows a year. That's pretty good calendar. Yeah, we do travel the whole country.
Nice. Yeah. I looked through, you have a good website set up. I've looked at your past touring dates. I mean, you guys are road warriors. out there every year, still at it.
Yeah, we're heading down to Texas again too.
Oh, okay.
It seems like we're getting into Texas a couple times a year now. I don't know what the magic is down there, but it's great.
Oh, yeah. And then fans, of course, can find out all your tour dates. That's all on the website and social media.
Right.
Okay. So you sort of posed this question a little earlier, and I'm going to kind of piggyback off of it. When you're looking at Tom's catalog, it is, like we said before, massive. And you guys doing a show, you have limited amounts of time. How do you build a set list that you think delivers the best experience for fans?
Yeah, well, we like I said, in the 17 years, we've got a couple of shows we do. What's going to happen in Milwaukee is we're doing a 90-minute concert, and you have to play the big hits. Okay, so we always have to do "Running Down a Dream." We always got to do "American Girl," and there's a couple that we throw in and out, depending on the night, but. I forget, we're doing, I think, 14 songs there in Milwaukee. And we built this thing over a period of time based on the ebb and flow of the music. Tom's music isn't all high energy stuff.
Yeah.
And so if you play too much of the lower energy stuff back to back, you wind up with what we call a lull in the show. And so we had to kind of mix things up so the show flows, keeps people interested, keeps everybody engaged in what's going on.
So, another challenge is that, he has so many hits that it would be hard to pack them all into a set list on its own. But, of course, I'm sure you're someone who appreciates deeper cuts. I'm sure as a musician, you like to change things up and play stuff that's not necessarily a radio hit. In the past, have you had the opportunity, or do you have plans on having some surprises, some maybe not household name songs in the set list, or is that just something you can't do?
Yeah, no, we're gonna do a couple on Thursday.
Cool.
We're gonna do "Saving Grace."
Oh, wow.
Which is wasn't a great big hit. It was a hit, but it's not one of them. We're gonna do "Cabin Down Below." Okay, that's a good one. Yeah. King's Highway never was a big hit, but it's one of those up-tempo kind of a dancer that we love playing it. And then, of course, we're going to do Wildflowers.
Nice.
Yeah, Wildflowers, on its own wasn't a huge hit when it first came out, but now with the resurgence of the new album, it's been big. So that's going to be in the mix. And, depending on the crowd and whatnot, we could do a variety of things that we set aside for encore songs.
Oh, nice. Well, so and that to me speaks to the credibility of the concert experience aspect of the show, because when Tom would play, he wouldn't only do hits; he would go deep into his catalog as well.
Right.
And fans love that kind of thing. There's got to be a couple of songs in the set list that are a little more fun to play, perhaps as a drummer, than others. I mean, what songs are, if you have any, what are your favorite ones to bust out?
No. I absolutely enjoy every song we play. One of the songs that I really like is King's Highway. And I like it because the vocals are so strong, and we do a really good job at that song. As far as playing goes, American Girl is fun. It's got a kind of a little more technical thing going on with the drum beats in there. It's challenging. Even after 17 years, I still got to really bear down on that song. Last Dance of Mary Jane is kind of fun. It swings, and it's got a good feel.
I imagine you've smelled the fumes from the audience a couple of times when that song.
Well, it's not just that song.
Right.
It happens quite a bit. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. So, on the subject of being, the drummer of the band, the Heartbreakers had two drummers.
Right.
And I am very curious about what your perspective as a fellow drummer is about those guys. I mean, when you look at their work, particularly, in this band, what are your thoughts about them? What's your perspective on how they played?
I love both of those guys. Stan Lynch was a monster. I mean, the guy was just a really good, solid guy, and he made everything look so easy. I mentioned earlier that we were down for Tom Petty's birthday party in Gainesville, and I was really looking forward to meeting Stan down there, and he didn't come to that party. I was disappointed. Stan is out running around right now with Mike Campbell doing the Dirty Knob thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Stan, I'm going to try to get out and see that show when Stan's playing with him. Steve Ferroni is just he's a machine. I mean, the guy is just a solid driver. I mean, when he's playing, he's driving the band, you know. So they both had their qualities. I probably play a little bit more like Steve than Stan. You know, I tend to try to drive it a little bit harder, you know. But I like them both.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I saw Mike Campbell's band. He played here. He played in Oshkosh last summer here. I went up to see that show, and that was awesome. He didn't do a lot of Tom's songs. He only did, you know, 2 or 3 that he wrote with Tom, and that was wonderful because it did sort of remind me how much I missed hearing that music live. And I'm thinking about that show a lot, knowing that I'm going to see you guys on Thursday because, you know, it's been, you know, geez, I can't believe it's been 6 years since Tom's been gone. And I just miss hearing that music in a concert setting. So I'm really excited to hear you guys bring that. So you mentioned it just now. Let's dive into this. You played Tom Petty's birthday bash in 2018. This was something that a lot of people in Tom's world were at. Tell us about that experience. This sounds like a very special occasion for the band.
Yeah, that was an amazing opportunity and an amazing experience. A number of things happened during that. We had been together at that point for 10 years. And so we were at that point considered, you know, there were only a handful of Petty tributes around the country when Tom died.
Yeah.
And we were considered one of the better. You know, there's other really, really good Tom Petty tributes out there. Don't read that the wrong way. But they invited us down. We were able to make it work, and it was a joy to go down and play for it. Now, a couple things happened. People came to that from all over the world. I mean, somebody told me they had 26,000 people that year and showed up for that party.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. It was great. And the outpouring of emotion was intense. And, you know, both happy and sad. You know, people were grateful that they lived during a period of time that Tom Petty was on this earth. And other people were like, I'll miss him, you know, and I don't know if life can go on without Tom Petty. You know, I heard both ends of that. And we got to meet some of Tom's past musician friends. You know, he had a thing down there called Mud Crutch, and they all lived on a farm outside of town, and he had a whole bunch of people that were in and out. And, you know, so a lot of those guys were there. Matter of fact, Tom Leadon, his other guitar player, was there. I got to meet him. And Randall Marsh, his original drummer, was there. Yeah, that was great. And we got to meet Tom's brother. That was a pleasure. And we got to meet about 200 women that said they used to date Tom. Hometown stuff, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. That was great. Anyway, that was a really good experience. I'm glad we had a chance to do that. And I don't know that we could ever replicate that experience.
I was just going to say, you know, looking back at your long history of touring, I mean, this sounds like maybe it was the best experience you guys ever had as far as a gig goes. Would you say that's the case, or are there other shows that really stand out as being special?
Well, there's other shows that were special for other reasons. You know, I mean, that one obviously was a heartstring thing. And but I mean, we've done shows. We played out in Utah at a place called Tucson. They call it the Red Rocks of Utah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's beautiful setting, you know, 2,000 seat arena. We sold it out. It was a beautiful night, and just the energy you get from the audience in a show like that's crazy. Yeah, we've been fortunate. We've had a number of those kinds of experiences over the years here. with big audiences and big rooms and stuff.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I expect that this Thursday is going to be another one of those.
I suspect it might be. Yeah,
All right.
especially if you're going to be there.
Yes, absolutely will be. So let's. I always like asking this question when musicians come on the show. Those are some great, awesome stories of gigs that, of course, went really well and were meaningful and special. Do you have any funny memories or disaster stories of shows that for whatever reason went off the rails or didn't quite work, or any funny stories from the road?
Well, there's a lot of them. Some of them we probably shouldn't talk about, but there's things. We do so many outdoor shows and stuff, so you get weather as a factor in places. And we did it was interesting. We were down in Florida about 10 years ago, and I picked up a routing date at a small theater down there, and it was on a Wednesday night or something. And pulled in and went in to set up, and here they had the stage set up. They were doing Phantom of the Opera. Okay, that was the play that was running. And they picked us up as a routing date, but the stage was set for their performance. And so we played on the stage set for Phantom of the Opera.
That is
So anyway, it looked great, and it was so much fun to do it. But the biggest problem was they had most of their equipment tied up in dealing with the production for that show.
Yeah.
And so they ran out of microphones, they ran out of cables, they ran out of speakers. They just didn't have everything we needed to pull it off. And we wound up doing that show. Typically there are 6 of us, and we'll have at least 6 monitors on stage. And that particular show, I think we had 2 monitors, one in the front, one in the back. And I think a couple of guys had to share microphones, and none of my drums were mic'd up. And we got through. We put on a great show, and we had a nice house. I think that room sat somewhere between 400 and 500, and I think we were real close to having a full house.
Okay.
It was still a lot of fun,
Yeah.
And then, of course, weather-wise, there's always that show. We had one down in Nebraska a couple of years ago that we were in the middle of this lightning storm that wouldn't go away. Yet we were supposed to play from 8 to 10 or something like that, and that lightning storm hung over us for 2 hours. We never did get on stage.
I saw Steve Miller in concert once, and he got chased off stage early before it was supposed to end because of weather, and that was just kind of
right.
Going back to the Phantom of the Opera stage. That's a great story. How tempting was it to wear that mask from the play during the show?
I don't think that the mask was around.
Too bad.
Yes, we didn't see that, but there was a stairway on either side of the stage that went up into these. It was a street scene in London, and went up into these 2-story street buildings, and then there was a walkway that went from one side to the other.
Oh,
and and of course my lead singer got up and used that. So it was kind of fun.
Best of it. Staying on the topic of touring, a past guest on this show was Kofi Baker, who is also a drummer. He drums with the Music of Cream, Ginger Baker's son. He was on the show to promote a tour he was doing, and he told me that at the time, this was 2 years ago, at the time that his band was really struggling to draw an audience because of sort of the hangover effect of the pandemic, and he had been off the road for a very long time, and he sort of painted a very, frankly, dire picture of what touring meant for a theater act. So I just wonder, as you look back, sort of post 2020, with all the weird challenges that fans have had, economic factors, the pandemic, all this stuff, would you say this has been the hardest or most unstable time for touring musicians? I mean, how did you navigate these waters?
Well, a couple of things that I'm thinking about with that question. We obviously had a really bad year in 2019. I think it was 2020.
Yeah.
Where I think we did 20 shows that year, and they were very specific, and they were very well planned and organized. Nobody could pay their bills that year. It was terrible. 2019 and the ramp up for that, it got bad, I think, towards the end of the year, if I remember. I'd have to look back. Yeah, it was tough for a while there, and we did the best we could. We tried to play as much as we could. A lot of guys were doing podcasts and things. There were a lot of podcast concerts with tip jars and whatnot that were going on. We did not do that, but it's interesting. I was at a talent buyers conference a couple of years ago in Nashville, and they were talking about groups that were canceling their tours because of COVID. And it was groups, like Rolling Stones, like,
Right.
Aerosmith and that kind of thing.
Big-
And it wasn't because everybody was afraid of getting sick. It's because they were afraid to go in and only have half-sold shows.
Oh,
And they didn't want to mess up their Polestar numbers.
yeah.
And that became a big deal. And I think that part of the business is still recovering.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting insight, because what I do remember of 2021, I did go to a couple of like big name shows. I saw like Kiss was one of the shows I saw, and I do remember that really through no fault of their own, but it was a half fill arena, and that's not normal for them.
Right.
But since then, in the last 2 years or so, the restrictions have fallen away. People have returned to live music. I mean, has that been the case for you? Have the crowds come back to see your shows? Are you feeling better about how the concert circuit is now?
Yeah, it's coming back. And I think the lifting of the restrictions was huge.
Yeah.
You're talking about this, and I'm thinking about, we were down in Florida right at the tail end of that. And some of the theaters at the time were still requiring people to show up with the passport,
Oh,
so that they've been vaccinated, and they made everybody wear masks. And there was a really big pushback on that. And, it turned out that, we would have, 600, 700 tickets sold, and only 300 people would show up. And so that got a little bit wonky. I think we're through that now. And I think, you're right, people are willing to come back up.
yeah. Yeah, there was definitely an adjustment period for all that
Right.
stuff. But, I'm a big concert enthusiast. I go to, lots of shows every year. So in my experience, I've seen crowds have returned to shows, particularly like theater shows, which I always think are the best concert experiences. So I'm sure you're going to have close to, if not a totally full house on Thursday. I just want to say one more time that I'm really excited for Thursday. I've looked at your videos on YouTube. I've read up on your website, and I started this podcast because I wanted to talk to people who are keeping the music of classic rock alive through various projects, be it books or honestly live shows like this. So I love what you're doing. I hope people come out to see you guys play. I'm going to be there. And I really appreciate talking to you today, man. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you so much for putting on your swag.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
Good to see.
All right. Well, I think we can wrap it up here. Thanks so much,
Great.
Mark. This has been awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Joe, it was very nice to meet you. And, let's make sure we connect on Thursday night at the, what's it called? The South Milwaukee Performing Arts Center.
Yep. Hey, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please remember the big 4 things you can do to support this show that don't cost a dime. Number 1, listen to the show. If you're hearing this now, that means you did this part already. Thank you. There is an infinite amount of content out there, so you choosing to spend some time listening to this show means a great deal to me. Number 2, if you like what we did here, please recommend this show to family, friends, or anyone you know who's looking for a podcast, particularly about music. Share our links in Facebook groups, subreddits, and recommendation threads. Whatever you can do is highly appreciated on my end. Number 3, find us on social media. Follow us on Twitter at PlayThatPodcast. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/playthatpodcast. and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/c/playthatrockandroll. Lots of great material like photos and vlogs on all three platforms, as Play That Rock and Roll is very much meant to be a content hub as well as a podcast. And finally, the big ask. Number 4, please give us a 5-star rating and a positive review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. I know this part is a hassle, but it really does help the show a great deal. Not just because it affects the algorithm, but also because it gives me something I can point to when pitching this show to potential guests. The more social media followers and positive ratings the show has, the better chance I have for booking high-profile guests for interviews. So if you take a moment to give us even just a 5-star rating, you are actively giving us a tool to do bigger and better things here. But whatever the case, I appreciate any and all efforts you take to support us here at Play That Rock and Roll. Be sure to join us next time for more great stories and music from the world of classic rock.